This is episode 35 of the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. We are a couple days late with the holidays, but we'll be back on schedule next week. In this episode, we're going to talk about our Strava year in review, how to be an elite athlete and treat yourself like one, coaching tips for the lunges, and how to gauge what percentage of paces at velocity at VO2 max and velocity at anaerobic threshold you should be running based on your muscle fiber type. Let's make hybrid fitness work for you. How's it going today, JK? Wow, my hair's a mess.
Mate, you have grown it a lot over the Christmas period.
I've been keeping that Santa hat on and it's got some miracle grow in it.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We're releasing this episode a little bit after Christmas, with the holidays and stuff. It's post Christmas time, post holiday, in between the holidays right now. We got a lot on the docket today and we got about 45 minutes, so I don't know if JK is going to get to do all of it, but it is my mom's birthday today, so I'm gonna happy birthday, mommy.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
We went over there last night and played some games with the family and stuff and watched Lily run around, ate some dinner. It was good. So,
how was your Christmas day? What did you
guys
get up to?
Lily's just old enough, I think, to start understanding it. I think next year she'll really understand it and get into it. But one of the things she liked this year was presents. She's like, presents? And what was funny is she had a bunch of presents, obviously, little 2-year-old. She would take the presents. Her favorite thing, we would bring them over. She'd open them, and then she'd put the present to the side, go get the next one, because she just wanted to open them up. She wanted to rip the wrapping paper, open up the presents. Right up until I think there were 2 presents. One of them was that made noise. Obviously, oh, it made noise. I'm gonna sit down and play with this one for a second, right? So she did that.
Yeah.
And then the other one was boots. This girl is like a little fashionista, and I don't know where she gets it from. I thought it was funny. We're like, how did my wife give birth to my little sister? Because my little sister's like this. But she got these pink UGG boots that are her size now. And the moment she opened them, her eyes got all big and she sat down and ripped off her little Croc shoes that she had on and grabbed these UGG boots and
put them on,
put them on, and then walked around stomping in them. So it was very cute.
That's cute.
Freaking adorable, but it was funny. That's how she was, and next year I'm sure she'll have even greater understanding of it.
Yeah, she definitely will. It's a great age though that she's at the moment though. And did Santa come for you guys as well?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of just get each other things all throughout the year, so we'll do that. And since we just moved, I set up the whole garage gym and everything, so that's looking good now.
Very good. Very good.
How about you?
Ready for Vegas?
Christmas was good? JK, since the last time we had this conversation, tell us what happened.
Wow, that's actually correct. Yeah. A couple of big things has happened since. The weekend before Christmas, I took Georgie away and I got down on one knee and proposed to Georgie. And by the way, it did take her a while to say yes because it got her by surprise. And it was funny because it's kind of like a very cloudy moment for me. Um, I think for most male, if you propose, I think you'd understand. For me, Anthony, I was fine. I was very controlled and measured before the actual um but before actually getting down on one knee. But as soon as I started to do it, I just cracked up. I just was so nervous, and I can't even remember what I said. And then, as I just said, she was so taken aback that she was just like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God!" And then I reckon it was like 30 seconds until she actually said the words yes. So,
So
um,
I know exactly what you're talking about. First off, just for the audience out there, JK texted me about an hour beforehand, like about to go do it now.
yeah,
And all I was thinking, and he said he's gonna do it in the ocean. And I'm like, oh my God, don't drop the ring. Don't drop the ring in the ocean.
it's the question, or like not the question, but yeah, the question that I've gotten the whole time. Why on earth, like, did you do it in the ocean?
If she took 30 seconds to
Um,
respond, you're down on one knee. You get any waves crash into you and like
it was we were like waiting at like knee height, like knee height. It wasn't like we were like swimming. But Georgie's favorite place in the world is swimming in the ocean, so that's why I did it out there.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So no, so that was great, and obviously we had some time to celebrate with our family over the Christmas period, and getting the whole like, oh my God, so when's the wedding? When's the wedding? When's the wedding? All the time, but we've still got to work that out. So yeah, no, very exciting times.
That's awesome. Um, well, that kind of leads into some of the stuff we're going to talk about today. First off, getting down on one knee, one of the fastest lungers in the world. We're going to have our coaching tips on lunges this week, continuing with that series. We started with wall balls last week. We'll do lunges this week. We have a couple things here. Let's see. Everyone's an elite athlete, so we're going to talk about a little bit about that and how can you do that. Fast twitch people. Um, how do you prescribe training for someone that's a fast twitch athlete when it's percentage based off of a maximum? Uh, People who do double threshold and don't improve or anything, what's going on there? What can happen? And then also, I kind of wanted to review our year on Strava. So JK and I both have a Strava account, and I kind of want to just see what our year in review is up to this point in the year. As of recording this, I have 3 days basically, since it's middle of the day right now, 3 days left until the end of the year. JK, you're at the very beginning
Yeah,
of December 30th, so you have 2 days
yeah,
left.
2 days. Yeah.
But we'll do that. And then I do have a little Lauren Love corner, but I want to start with the year on Strava, actually, before we get into everything else. So let's pull up the year on Strava. JK, do you know what your total
You've
mileage
got
for
me.
this year is?
No, you've got me by surprise. Like, I don't know if you saw this, Anthony, but I changed my Strava account because I'm a typical I'm on Strava and I log a lot and then I go off it and then I log a lot and then I go off it. So I'll be honest with you, mine's not consistent. Um, let's have a look at yours and then I can maybe get mine up in a second.
All right, so let's just take a look. I pulled up my Strava. If you're on listening on a podcast, you can also watch this on YouTube, but I pulled up my Strava and I'll just read through it as well. According to Strava this year, this calendar year, I did 477 hours of running so far, 2,325.8 miles, 62 personal records, and 796 running activities, I believe.
Wow.
So looking at my mileage per month, January 253 miles, February 288 miles. This is in miles. If you do kilometers, multiply it by 1.60934, uh, and you'll get the kilometers. But just for reference, the in terms of mileage, 100 miles is equal to about 160 kilometers. So if I
Yeah.
did 250 miles, you're looking at about 400 kilometers.
Yeah, wow.
250, yeah. So obviously January and February had a lot of mileage, and I know it did because I ran a half marathon here and I was training January, February, March the last weekend, or the last like week of March was kind of my taper into the marathon I did at the beginning of April, which is that big bar, beginning of
Yeah.
April. So my mileage for the first 3 months was 253 miles, 288 miles, 195 miles. And then as you can see, like throughout the year, it was pretty consistent, some lulls. Um, but right now my lowest mileage is actually this month. I'm at 142 miles so far with 3 days left. So that'll probably end about 160 miles.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. That's pretty consistent as well, if I may add. Like obviously you had those marathons and things you were training for at the start of the year. What yeah. You don't have hourly or any other data compare like gym work,
So that
CrossFit
would be
work.
like total activities, I think.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can do my activities. I don't have the subscription on Strava, so I'm just looking at my total activities. 1,099 activities.
Mm. For the year.
I think it's for the year. But what's interesting is that if JK is uh,
Actually, I get
on here, I do follow him.
it's something that I want to be better at is that's my new one. That's my new account that I started. So over the
Oh,
last 2 weeks.
oh, really? That's it? So I
Yeah.
have, okay. Yeah, I have over the last 4 weeks. You've only been in there for 2 weeks. Look, I didn't know it did this. Side by side comparison. Last
Oh,
four
cool.
weeks, activities per week. I just have it off my watch, goes directly to Strava Connect.
Something I want to be better at is logging data because at the end of the day, it's great to go back and do this and compare or also see where you've come from and understand how much work you've actually put in, right?
Yeah,
Have you've told me before, Anthony, you've logged data, you've logged workouts for years, haven't you?
years. If I pull it up, I have an online diary of workouts. I have 7,121 workout sessions logged.
That's crazy. And is that over what,
That
20
would be
years or
since
no, not 20.
2014,
So 10
maybe
years.
2015. So it's like 9 or 10 years.
Yeah, wow.
Uh,
Does Lauren log as much as you do?
no, she doesn't track everything she does. Uh,
Yeah,
she won't even put a timer on workouts when she does them.
yeah, right.
So I
There's,
I put a timer on everything. She doesn't put a timer
yeah.
on anything.
See, I'm probably in between that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Yeah.
So would you guess how many miles do you think you've done this year?
Oh,
I don't, I mean, maybe you don't even know. You do it in kilometers anyway. So but we can convert. I also have been logging in my phone. I can show the screen here how
the
many
mileage.
mileage per week. So every day that I do mileage, I write it out in kilometers or in meters. I've done over 3.5 million meters ran this year.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
So over 3,500 kilometers. And I am today, I should pass over 2,200 miles ran. I think my Strava included some hikes and stuff in there when it said over 2,300.
I think if I looked at the whole year, I think I would average with some higher weeks and a lot of higher weeks, but also some lower. But I think I would average about 80 kilometers per week for the year, which is
So it'd be 49, almost 50 miles a week.
I think I would have averaged about 50 miles a week. Like, and that's obviously the the average. We've discussed,
2,600
uh,
miles per year.
per year. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's pretty good. I average just over 40 miles a week, which
yeah.
is like 65, 70-ish kilometers.
Kilometers. Yeah, yeah.
So cool. Anyway, that's our year in review on Strava. I'm sure it could have told us a lot more things than what we asked, but I don't know what happened to my. Usually Strava gives you a year in review thing, and I didn't see it on here. So just interesting. Total mileage. I think it's the most mileage I've ever ran in a year. I used to
It's
track
great.
like when I did marathons from 2011 to 2014. When I was doing marathons, I used to track my mileage, and I remember I'd get pretty happy if I got about half of what I did. I think I was aiming for like 1,300 or 1,500 miles, and
Yeah,
to look at it and be like, wow, I did over 2,200 miles this year is pretty far. And it's pretty far for anybody as long as you're consistent. And I think that's one of the most important things is if we're consistent and we're not having giant peaks and valleys all the time, but consistency across all the mileage, I think that's really um, going to
really
lead
important.
to
Yeah.
success later on for most people.
Um, if you had, and I might throw this to you now, and then we can report back in maybe in the next episode. But if you had a running resolution for 2025, I'm not a big resolution guy, a New Year's resolution, but a running resolution, what would it be?
I would want to
Let's
put, what's that?
uh, you go.
I want to make sure I put some races on the schedule that I like actually can train for. Obviously, consistency. I think consistency, it's
Mm,
better to do something 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like we talked about. 5 minutes, 10 minutes easy is better than skipping a day altogether. Like, just as an example, just yesterday, I kept telling myself um, that I was going to go run and I wanted to run far. And I ended up pushing it off. And if you don't know, I'm a run procrastinator. So I procrastinate starting my runs no matter what they
Starting
are.
your run, yeah,
So
yeah.
if if I had to say just do something, and I pushed it off so far yesterday that I ended up not being able to. I had only 10 minutes. It was like I literally had 10 minutes until we were going to leave, or I had 15 minutes until we were going to leave from my mom's house to go have dinner and hang out with the family. And so I had 15 minutes and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I had my shoes on. I'm just going to go run for 10 minutes. I just went downstairs into our garage, ran on the assault runner for 10 minutes. Um, it was better than nothing. I got like 2K in those 10 minutes. And then I went back. I had 5 minutes, changed, got ready, and went over to my mom's house. When we got back, I thought I was going to run more. I told myself, "Oh, I'm going to go run for an hour." Well, on our way back, JK texted me and was like, "Hey, I'm available in an hour if you want to do our one-to-one meeting for this week." And I was like, "That's a great time to do it." So by the time we got home out of the car and everything, I had 30 minutes and I just went downstairs and ran again for the time that I had. I had 30 minutes. I ran for 30 minutes. I came back upstairs and I was all sweaty on the call for
You
JK, but
were
I got
sweaty.
at least I got it in. And in total, like
Yeah.
those are little, little time frames. It could be big time frames. Maybe 30 minutes is long for you, but was able to get 40 minutes of running in at a little bit faster pace than easy, uh, just because that's what I had time for yesterday,
Yeah.
right?
And I appreciate you being able to be available for the one-to-one, but that's right. Like 10 minutes is better than nothing, full stop. Like that's a great segue because um like something is better than nothing. Something is always better than nothing. I always say to my athletes that I always program one like longer run per week, and I always comment down below that if it's a prescribe 80-minute run. Well, if you don't have 80 minutes, that's fine. If you only have 60 minutes to do the 60. Don't feel as if you need to do the whole lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and you always have to think about it as you are building a habit, right? So when you're building a habit, it takes like 6 months for a habit to form. And you have to put in work on that every single day in order to build the habit that you're trying to get. So think about like, not every single day, but like multiple times a week. If you want to form a habit, it can take you 6 months to get there. It can take less time than that. It's like 2 weeks to break a habit. So you're
Yeah.
really looking at like it takes a long time to form, and consistency is key.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
maybe you're not getting the full scope of the program that you are on in, but something, a little piece of it. If you don't have, another example, if you don't have a or you don't have 20, you only have 20 minutes until you're about to leave and you have a 20-minute workout, go do 15 minutes of it and then um
Yeah.
change and go, like doing that 15 minutes of it is better than not doing any of it because you didn't have enough time for the whole thing.
Correct. Yeah.
Doesn't have to be
Agreed.
perfect, just has to be consistent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and that actually leads into like one of the things I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about being an elite athlete, right? Like just because somebody is having great performances and they're in the Elite 15 and you're just going out for your first high rocks, or you do multiple high rocks races or multiple hybrid fitness races or anything, um, doesn't mean that you should treat yourself any less than that elite athlete is. I think everybody should treat themselves like an elite athlete. Go get the super shoes to train or like run in for your race, test them out beforehand. Like figure out your fueling strategy. Know what you are gonna eat, what you're gonna take in during the race so that you can get to the end, right? Get the proper amount of sleep, give yourself the right amount of recovery, like use the massage guns and all those types of things. Like treat yourself like an elite athlete. And if you want your best performance, just consistently do that.
Definitely. I think like that this topic is um all about your mindset. So as you said, Anthony, if you're going out there for your first high rocks in a couple of weeks or in a couple of months, and you're listening to this, um, you can be an elite athlete by the way you think and by the way you act. Um, and I've kind of learnt that the power of that over the course of my like fitness journey, my sporting journey, over my even my childhood, and also you know, in my 20s as well. Like I looked, I thought like an elite athlete when I was playing junior cricket for the Sandgate Gators under 10s, because I just like thought about every little thing that I wanted to control, like an elite athlete, like your food, like your nutrition, like your process beforehand, etc., etc. And I agree, Anthony. Like I think a lot of people should and have the opportunity to actually treat their fitness like an elite athlete. And whether you're in the elite 15 or striving for that or not, it doesn't matter. It's about how you actually think about it and then put those thoughts into practice, you know. Um, yeah, have you always kind of taken your sport and fitness seriously enough, Anthony, that you've kind of had that like thought process of trying to think like an elite athlete?
Yeah, so one of the things I like to think of, and maybe this is why I was drawn to coaching, is when I was wrestling, right? I got the experience of being treated not just like an elite athlete, but like a professional athlete. When you're a Division 1 athlete, they treat you so well. Like you would get when you stay over winter break for workouts, you're getting paid per diem to be at school while it's not in session and you're still doing all the workouts. You're
Yeah.
getting um, treated very well. Like we had access to nutritionists. They gave us brand new sponsored gear all the time. Like we would get shoes and shirts and workout clothes and little spandex tights, and we would get these things as wrestlers all the time. We had a training facility that had like cold tubs, hot tubs. We had athletic trainers that you could go get work done, or you could go get like your ankles taped up, your wrist taped up. I had an issue with like my thumb dislocating, so I would always go get my hand taped. But a
Mm.
professional would tape you. You were treated like a professional. We had access to facilities, really nice facilities all the time, and it was great. And if you don't like, I realized coming out of that world once I graduated, they're like, where do I work out? How do I like,
Mm.
wait, there's not like a wrestling room I can just go to. There's not a
Yeah.
high-end training facility that has my workout written for me that I can go to. And so we're in this world that for like people with general going out there for general health or just trying to work out or just trying to get their High Rocks performance in or um, DECA performance in, whatever hybrid fitness space we're in, whatever workout you're trying to get in, go to the gym, treat yourself like an elite athlete. Like, think, here's my set, here's what I'm working on. I'm gonna roll out like all these things you can do. You can go get yourself super shoes. They're not exclusive to the people running out there, right? Find the ones that work for you, that are right for you.
Yeah.
Uh, if you need a knee sleeve, go get a knee sleeve. Like, treat yourself like you're the athlete that you want to see progress.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And treating yourself like that and thinking like that will give you results.
Yeah.
Trust me. Um, yeah, I've learned the power of going all in, let's just say, versus going 80% in, and that 20%, that extra 20% can lead to to more success.
Yep. And take an honest look at like what you've done um, in the past too. So have you, maybe you're not getting all your programming in, but have you done the other things right? Are you recovering well? Like then you're getting the most out of what you can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Uh, and also, I just like to add when I program, if anybody knows, we have our pro track. When I program like you're an elite athlete, like you're a professional. And if you need help scaling it down, just message us or ask anyway that, and we can help you. And JK, I'm sure you do the same. Like, oh, you can't get all of this in that's on here, or you need to scale it back. We've talked about on here before, reduce it. Don't do the 100%. Do 75% of each thing.
yeah,
Uh, but you're getting it in because that's what the professional might be doing. So you'll have consistency.
exactly. Yeah,
Exactly. Going on like that, we have the ability to program for them. You have coaches around in this space that are professional, that are elite athletes. Ask them questions.
yeah,
And if you're somebody who is trying to get to that next level, I really do believe like go through the program or programs, stick with something for like 6 to 12 months, really conquer that one. And it's not necessarily that you need, and like I said, I don't believe everybody needs one-to-one programming. I think
mm,
get yourself as far as you can. And when you really are on those fringes, the highest, like now you're performing at an elite level, that's when like, hey, I need this a little bit more individualized because there's some minutia, which we'll get into about like if you're a fast twitch or slow twitch athlete, how the percentages of threshold or percentages of VO2 max, like how those compare,
right.
and
Yeah,
that's where you need the experience and professionalism. of a coach to guide you through that. Just
Yeah.
for example, we have, I think, JK, I looked, they sent out invites to Vegas. There's a potential that between me and my wife, we'll be coaching 9 of the 30
Wow.
athletes that'll be racing in Las Vegas.
Hmm.
Um, and then you yourself, you have two more, right?
Yeah, so there's 12 of us, mate.
So between you and me,
It's
there's
great.
over 1/3 of the field
It's
uh,
fantastic.
that will be
Yeah.
racing in Las Vegas. And just about that, like I'm not going to say all their names, but I know that two of those people that I coach are just following our pro track. Like that's
Yeah.
what's going to work for them. That's where the pro track is what Kate and Zara and Maria, like they all started, like that's what they've
Yeah.
started. Uh,
Yeah.
and it's once they reach a certain level, a certain threshold, that's where it's like, okay, maybe 1-to-1 is a little better. But for now, like that's exactly what should be going on.
Definitely. Definitely.
Uh,
Um,
okay, the next thing I want to talk about real fast is if you're doing percentage based runs, mostly runs, because if it's on the bike and you're talking about power output, it could be a little bit different. So we're going to talk about runs because usually it's like, here's my pace that I run at my, as we talk about, anaerobic threshold, or here's the pace that I run at my lactate threshold, or here's the pace that I run at my aerobic threshold, right? Sometimes I've seen, common models, standard models where people will prescribe run at 90% of your velocity at VO2 max. Okay. And
yep.
it's like, okay, well, I'll go do that. But you got to think about the physiological outliers, the physiology of people, right? If somebody is a very high twitch athlete with unique muscle fiber compositions, um, so for athletes with like a strong glycotic capacity, fast twitch, the traditional percentages, if you're using 90% of your velocity at VO2 max as an example, right? Because there's such a high peaker on those lower levels, they their 90% is a higher effort level than the slow twitch or the aerobic athlete doing 90% of what their maximum was. So fast twitch actually does
Yes.
90%. It's such a higher maximum that
Yep.
90% over a duration, slow twitch athlete can do it. But the fast twitch athlete, like that's a higher effort level for them, right?
Yep.
Um, and which means that if they're doing traditional percentages, that could lead to overtraining, because
Yep.
they're exhausting themselves more frequently, especially with their muscle profiles. Um, so just as an example, so if it's prescribed at 90% and you are a very high fast twitch athlete, right? The average endurance athlete might be doing 90% of their velocity of VO2 max. You should be aiming for like 80% so you get the
80%. Yeah.
same physiological effect.
Gotcha. How do you
Right.
know though? Like, how do you know if you're fast twitch or slow twitch?
Well, we don't want to be doing a muscle biopsy to determine that. So,
Yeah.
uh, you'd have to go off of if you're frequently tired after things, but this is like probably less than 5% of the people actually doing it. So this is a far end of the spectrum type of person. Okay. So
Right.
odds are you're not, but if you are, if you're one of these people, because 5% is still can be still a lot of people. Um,
Mm.
you're looking at like the people that are extremely explosive. For example, I would think I am probably more fast twitch than I am slow twitch. I like to
Yeah.
go for long periods of time, but just as an
Yep.
example, like I can be very explosive for short periods. If you talk about like the assault bike, I've done 25 calories on the assault bike in 11 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Like I can put out a lot of power for a short duration of time. My lifetime PR power clean is 300 pounds. Uh,
Yeah.
so just to put that in reference, JK, at the time that was 150% of my body weight. Uh,
Wow.
so
At the time you were,
I was 200 pounds and I power cleaned, not squat cleaned. I power cleaned 300.
wow.
Um, so 300 pounds for you guys that are in kilos is over 136 kilos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, when's the last time you deadlifted 136 kilos, JK?
Yeah, I haven't deadlifted 136 in a while.
So that's
That's so true.
in terms of like explosiveness, you can tell. Test your box jump height. How high can you box jump in relation to your body size? You know, that's a good way to
It's another
measure
one.
if you're fast twitch, slow twitch, those types of explosive outputs. And as for an endurance athlete, like get yourself tired first and then go see like
Yeah.
how you can do that stuff. But in in that kind of terms, like you might be overworking if you're doing a percentage of your anaerobic threshold or a percentage of your velocity of VO2 max in running based off of pace. You could be overworking during a duration, right? If you're that type of athlete. So maybe the slow twitch athlete is doing uh, maybe the slow twitch athlete is doing 90% of what they're able to consistently, but you need to take that down to 80%. And
Yeah.
don't feel bad about that. It's the same it could be the same physiological response that you get to, right?
Yeah.
Because you're in that proper zone. And so and that works the other way as well. Slow twitch dominant athletes with minimal glycotic capacity, it could fall short. Maybe you're not getting to the proper zone because you are so slow twitch, like you have to go to a higher percentage. Like
Mm.
when you talk about a percentage of velocity of VO2 max, it's not exact. So we do try to measure, like we said, our anaerobic threshold, and we want to stay at or below that pace for most of the threshold runs. Same thing with our aerobic threshold. Uh, it's just when you're doing
Mm.
percentages of those things, watch what you're doing, but it's always better to, like we've talked about in the past, err on the side of lower or slower rather than going too fast.
Yeah. Mm. I've had to learn, or just on that, I've had to learn that very quickly because I came from thinking more so than anything that I had to run fast to be fast. Now, just briefly, it's on the topic, but it's not really. But I've had to slow down my thresholds lately because of the feeling of it being too intense, let's just call it. And as a result, I've slowed down to a point where I'm still running in my threshold zone. Um, and I'm more so on, no, I'm probably not closer to my LT1, but I've just had to slow down so the feeling of my thresholds aren't too intense. But yeah, it's interesting going back and actually understanding what you've done in the past to understand if you are probably more so a slow twitched athlete and a fast twitch athlete. From my experience, I've done a lot more aerobic activity in my time, resulting in me being more of a aerobic, let's just say slow twitch, but I don't like the word slow twitched. I like the words, let's just say, I like the words, Anthony, you're more of an aerobic athlete or more of a power output athlete. That's how I kind of use it. More so because I'm a slow twitch athlete. Does that make sense, though?
That does make sense. I understand that. And that's exactly like we backed off your running a little bit because we didn't want to get you overtrained, so we backed off your speed in the running, not
Yes.
necessarily the volume at that time. Uh, that leads into the next thing on our map here. The what do you think people who do double threshold training and do not improve are doing wrong? So, if anybody's curious, I actually got some questions and I distilled them down into what we're talking about today. So, I had somebody that was a fast twitch athlete ask about getting niggles, and that's something that can happen if they're a fast twitch athlete and they're always running faster paces because it's a higher percentage of their maximum that they were able to get to, the it could lead to injury, to overtraining and that type of thing. So that's why you back off the paces as well. And additionally, somebody asked, what do you think people who are doing double threshold um, and when they don't improve, what are they doing wrong, if anything? I think it boils down to the same answer. They're running too fast in their thresholds,
Yeah, correct.
or they're not hitting the right physiological zone, right? So maybe they're a slow twitch athlete and they're not running fast enough, but make sure you're measured first before you determine that. And
Yeah,
then
exactly.
if they're a fast twitch athlete and they're just doing too high a percentage, then they're just running too fast. Um,
But also, and I don't want to go into this because this is another separate topic, but you've got to look at everything that you're doing, like not just the running. We're trying to get stronger. We're trying to get faster. We're lifting. We're jumping. You know, as hybrid athletes, we're trying to do everything. So it could potentially be not necessarily your running pace. It could potentially be your squatting program or your plyometric work. So you got to look at everything there, right?
yeah, I agree. Let's move on because I know you got short time now. The coaching tips on lunges. What if somebody was about to do, so you're one of the best lungers in the field, and I can back that up by our High Rocks data, but give me a couple of your best coaching tips on lunges.
Well, I think if you're starting out and haven't done a lot of single-legged um, work before, let's just say work, it's something that you just got to get reps in. Let's just call it like get reps in of doing single-legged modality stuff. If you think about it, running is single-legged. Um, so I actually put down my ability to lunge and pretty well is actually probably to do with my running background. But to answer your question, Anthony, well, what does that look like in terms of like getting stronger at the lunge? It depends always. I'll start with that. It depends on what the problem is or why you might be deficient in the lunge, but not just lunging for the sake of lunging either is going to improve your lunge. We do a lot of single-legged work, box step-ups with weight and even without weight. Even plyometric, single-legged plyometric work, but making sure that we're actually on one leg at a time is breaking it down, like breaking it down to a point. It's just do things one leg at a time to make sure that we're actually breaking it down to just getting familiar about being strong um, unilaterally. So it's like anything in high rocks, guys. You don't necessarily just hammer the movement to get better at the movement. You got to break it down biomechanically. I'm just trying to think, Anthony. You know, box step ups, single-legged, RDLs, Bulgarian split squats are a big one for me. What other ones? What other exercises?
So in terms of like getting better at lunges, I definitely think a lot of single leg movement stuff is absolutely key. One of the things I would say on that is rucking. I think rucking could do really well to leading into um, your single leg advance, and not necessarily step ups like high exaggerated steps. Like it could be short step ups, just climbing
Yeah.
stairs, things like that. I do think there's benefit to doing deficit lunges, right? Uh,
Mm.
squats help, pistol squats, uh,
Cossack squats.
Cossack squats, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
I've been
you've been doing
yeah,
some of
I've been
those.
loving them.
And
Yeah.
just for reference, so I looked up the all-time sandbag lunges for the men. If if you take away, so some of these guys' times are like an hour 30, an hour 15. So I said, okay, what times from somebody that broke an hour overall in their race? So they had to be
Yeah.
fast, right? So they had to go sub 1 hour.
Yep.
what times are there? And JK, of the men, I gotta exclude Ryan Kent's 25-second lunge because that can't be right. Um, but if you so you exclude that one, you look at this, you are the third fastest all time that has broken an hour in the race and done a fast lunge. So the third fastest lunge all time that also broke an hour in the race. Um, so that's where you're at third. And
Who's beating me? Sorry.
so Dylan Scott had an amazing one in DC last year, which is, I think,
Right.
doubly impressive because he was on the grid doing that.
Great. Yeah. That's
So he's
wow.
the fastest. Dylan Scott has the fastest lunge time that also broke an hour in the race. Second place would be Harry Thompson. And
Wow.
then you were in third in Cologne.
Yep. What's Dylan's time to beat?
So you have a 2:37. Harry Thompson has a 2:36. And Dylan's 2:34.
Ooh, game on, Dylan.
Three
Game on,
seconds.
Dylan. Yeah.
Um, but so that's if you use the qualifier, must have broken an hour in the race and has the fastest lunch time. Yeah, I think that's a good qualifier. It's broken for the men at least. Broke one
Yeah.
hour and lunged quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of
Um,
those things as well, guys. You don't have to necessarily think about using the weight or overloading, even going heavier as well. I think a there's big emphasis, or there should be a big emphasis on um teaching your body to move fast. Um, and that's how you're going to teach your body to move fast, right? However, it's making sure you're breaking it up by doing some lunges that when you are doing lunges with no weight, so you can move fast, breaking it up where you're doing lunges with your high rocks weight, and then breaking it up to a point where you're doing lunges, strengths, heavier, overloading as well. So you're actually touching all bases.
and if you go to the women's side, again, are saying sub 70 minutes, uh, sub 70 minutes and fastest lunges. The top five times are all Miram Van Roor.
Are they?
Yeah.
Wow.
So good at
Yep.
wall balls, good at lunging.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
And then
awesome.
also on there, the only other person on there multiple times with sub 70 minutes and fast lunges is Rebecca Nader. Oh, I guess Belle McFarland's on there twice, but
Okay.
yeah, Rebecca Nader is on there multiple times. She's got some quick lunges, and Rebecca's been around for
Wow.
a long time. She's coached by my wife, Lauren. So, but yeah, like you keep looking, she shows up by the first and
Yeah.
second page almost as many times as Miriam.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Yeah.
uh, I know you got to go, but if you have a second, I'm gonna jump
Yep.
into the Lauren Love corner real fast just because I pulled it up. And I pulled up an old Instagram of her. First off, I just pulled this up because we had talked about it. This is my 300-pound power clean. It's very ugly. Basically, it's just me power cleaning 300 pounds, a little bit of a starfish, but definitely didn't go down into the full squat. I have other videos on the same thing. This is way back on my Instagram page of me power cleaning 295, which is a little cleaner, but that was that. So if you go back, think some real power output is shown in obviously the Olympic lifts. Lauren has
Yep.
this is 215 pounds. She's squat cleaning right here,
Wow.
which was absolutely amazing. Uh, Here she's putting 230 pounds over her head in a jerk.
Oh, she's quick there, isn't she?
Yeah, she's very quick. So this is a 230 pound jerk. Um, oh,
We.
she missed 230, but 225 she put over.
Yep.
Um, but snatching as well. Snatching is one of the most explosive things you can do. Here's a
Yep.
165-pound snatch.
We.
Um, which JK, 165-pound snatch is 75 kilos.
Wow.
Do you think you could
I
snatch?
don't think I. No.
And
No
I
way.
think her lifetime clean and jerk is 220 or something like that, 220 pounds, which is 100 kilos. I'm not sure any other women except for maybe Miriam Van Roar could actually clean and jerk or snatch more than her.
Mm.
Um, but I just obviously, like I said, Lauren Love Corner. She's, I think, amazing. One of the strongest people in the field.
She
Lifetime
definitely is.
max is really freaking high. Um,
Yeah.
so if you guys want to take a look, go to her Instagram, Lauren_E_weeks. But
Run underscore E underscore Wicks.
yep. So this was CrossFit days. She did this
Yeah.
workout. This is a workout from CrossFit Regionals. I believe it was 2016. The workout, I believe, was 5 rounds of 40 GHDs, 400-meter run, 40 GHDs, and 7 deadlifts. And the women's weight for the deadlift was 275 pounds. For the men, that would be 405 pounds.
Wow.
And she did every round unbroken on the deadlifts and did really well. But anyway, that's my little Lauren Love corner for this one. Um, I think she's amazing. She's still lifting very, very heavy. I think most recently, within the last year, she clean and jerked over 185, snatched like 135, 130 or something in an EMOM.
She's kicking goals. I've got to run to my town hall meeting, Anthony.
All right.
But thanks for the chat. If
Thanks
anyone
for
wants
chatting,
to
JK.
find us on Instagram, shoot us a message, jk.jameskelly.
Or you can find me at the Hybrid Engine on Instagram and on YouTube. JK is also on YouTube. So
We are
thanks again
indeed.
for listening, guys. Have a great day.
We'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.
Later. Thank you for listening to the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. If you'd like to get in contact with James Kelly to seek out some coaching or for general questions and inquiries, please go to Instagram and find him at jk.jameskelly. Or you can find him and Georgie Vesley on YouTube at James Kelly and Georgie Vesley. If you'd like to contact Anthony or seek out programming or coaching questions from the Hybrid Engine, please go to Instagram at the Hybrid Engine or at a Wild Parasini. Thank you again. Have a great day.